All right, everybody, welcome to the Fantasy Football Live with the Fantasy Sports Boss. Wanted to jump on and do a live stream because it's been a while since I have done one of these before, and I apologize for the lighting or the lack thereof. Of course, when you're home like I am with a wife and multiple children, sometimes you gotta just make do with what you have to get on here and do this with you guys. So that's what I'm dealing with. So. But anyway, it's nice to be on here and discussing fantasy football as 2023 drafts are really starting to fully get underway. And, obviously you want to try to draft as close to the end of preseason as you can. In order to minimize the effect of injuries. But certainly a lot to talk about. And today I wanted to start my team previews by discussing the Arizona Cardinals. Going to be doing a lot of videos, team preview videos, in addition to updating my rankings. I've already updated the quarterback rankings, which you can find. Also, before I get any further, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Also, hit the like button. Hit the notification button as well, so you're made aware when live streams go on. And when the regular season comes, the live streams are 3 to 4 times a week. Football Friday every Friday. Live fantasy cast, watching the first half of the Thursday night game with you guys on Thursday night. And, of course, the Sunday night wrap-up show where we discuss our joys or miseries, depending on how we did in our fantasy football leagues for that particular week, and discuss the injuries, big performances, and all that stuff. So that's always fun. And, Sunday is just a crazy day for me because anytime an injury hits, I do those instant injury update videos. So that's something that if you don't subscribe, make sure you hit the subscribe button for that. Listen, I've been taking a look at all of the various pundits and their opinions on certain players, and you start to get a general consensus as to what the industry thinks of certain players, and a couple of things have emerged so far this preseason, and one of them, and the first guy I wanted to talk about today, is Christian Watson, the number one wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. And Watson is sort of a polarizing player for me. Obviously we know that he started the season injured. It took him a while to get going, but he was gangbusters. You talk about a league-winning performance the second half of the season. Christian Watson was scoring touchdowns left and right, 22% target share. And he was just unbelievable, a freakish athlete, size, speed, you name it, he's got it. It's high. Only Devontae Adams and Jerry Jeudy had a higher yards per route run than Watson last season. But for this season, obviously, Aaron Rodgers is no longer the quarterback. The Green Bay Packers are going to be bringing in, or not bringing in, but starting Jordan Love, who's been there for 3 years, learning behind Rodgers. And so there's a bit of mystery as to what Watson's ceiling is. And he's being drafted very aggressively so far, falling in about the 4th round range in PPR leagues. And, as far as my opinion of that, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with it. The excitement that Watson generated last season has carried over to drafting season, this summer. And I think it's inflated his draft price a little bit too high, not knowing what Jordan Love is going to bring this season in terms of his true ability. I mean, we've only seen very short spurts when he's been in the game in mop-up duty. And, of course, the one start he got, last season. And, he's got an arm. He can move. And certainly having a big arm like Love does have, and that was one of the strengths coming out of college. It was the cannon of an arm that does jive well for the big playability of Christian Watson, who again was 3rd in the NFL in yards per route run last season. But we're also hearing about the chemistry that Romeo Doubs, another second-year wideout, has with Jordan Love, and that gives me pause about drafting Watson early. So for me, I'm fading Christian Watson this season, all right, at a 4th and 5th round draft cost. I'm doing it. I don't want him as my wide receiver too. I'm just not comfortable. I think he's going to run very hot and cold. I think you're going to be pulling your hair out each week with him. Think about A.J. Brown when he was with the Tennessee Titans. I think that's what you're going to see from Christian Watson this season. And while you're going to have those big booming weeks, or maybe like a Gabe Davis in Buffalo, you're going to have those booming weeks. You're also going to then have those, 3-catch, 20-yard no-show outings that are just going to piss you the hell off. And that's why for me, especially in a PPR league, Christian Watson, I'm definitely going to fade this season. And listen, I've already put out a ton of videos already discussing my strategy, how it's in round one, it's going to be Jefferson, Kelsey, or Jamar Chase. Failing to get those guys means I'm probably towards the end of round one, and then I'm going Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then CeeDee Lamb as well. Davante Adams, I'm going to fade as well because of the quarterback situation. Listen, Jimmy Garoppolo, you can say, oh, he wins games, he's accurate, which is all true. But being in a Kyle Shanahan offense as a quarterback, it definitely inflates your ability, probably more than you really show. And so I'm very concerned about Davante Adams. You could say, okay, he's quarterback proof, and sure, that's pretty much true. But for a late first round draft choice, when you could get a CeeDee Lamb, you could get an AJ Brown or an Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'd rather take all three of those guys over Davante Adams. And also, guys, he's 30 years old. So he's reaching that age now with the wear and tear injuries. And don't forget, last season notwithstanding, Adams has been a guy that has missed a couple of games with soft tissue injuries on a yearly basis going back to his years with Green Bay. So, again, if I'm towards the end of round one, I am much more interested in CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, who I've come around on. Anybody who knows me knows that I've ragged on AJ Brown in the past. Did not like I faded him greatly when he was with Tennessee. I didn't actively go after him with Philadelphia. I'm sold because of the narrow target tree in Philadelphia, which really just Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, and Dallas Goedert when he's on the field. So one mistake that I made last year in leagues, now I won one of my two leagues, and I've made this mistake the last couple of years in PPR leagues, is that I have not accounted for enough touchdowns when it came to my draft choices. So you all know I love Keenan Allen all those years. Well, Keenan Allen, who was on my team pretty much on a yearly basis, with the exception of last season, catches a lot of balls, but he doesn't catch a lot of touchdowns. So I'm trying to get more touchdowns this season. Hence, I really want Jamar Chase. I really want Travis Kelce. And A.J. Brown in the beginning of round two, if I'm at that 11, 12 spot for round one, and then it comes back to me at the beginning of round two, I'm really looking heavily at A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb. Amon-Ra St. Brown concerns me a little bit. I know that he's a target whore, no doubt about it, but he hasn't exactly lit the world on fire when it comes to touchdowns, so it gives me a little bit of pause. You talk about a narrow target trade. That is the case in Detroit with Jameson Williams suspended for 6 weeks. So I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to have positive touchdown regression this season. He did get quite a bit of targets in the red zone last year. So, I'm sold on Amon-Ra St. Brown having positive touchdown regression. And really all of those guys, it's very difficult for me to rank all those guys. Gun to my head, I did the Cooper Kupp video earlier today, so you know how I feel about fading Cooper Kupp as well. I would have Diggs, followed by CeeDee Lamb, followed by A.J. Brown because of the touchdown output, then Amon-Ra St. Brown, then Davante Adams, and then Garrett Wilson. So all of those guys fall in that next tier for me. And listen, I love Chris Olave. I like Jalen Waddle a lot too, but I just hate the fact that Tua Tagovailoa, if he goes down, they're completely screwed. And here's another thing I thought about today. So, it's drafting season, when I'm stuck in traffic thinking about things, fantasy football pops into my head, and I start thinking about draft strategy. And I was thinking today, like if I did have towards the end of round one, beginning of round two, and I started with, let's say, Stephon Diggs and A.J. Brown, right? Great 1-2. Or even CeeDee Lamb and A.J. Brown, because that's very plausible if you're in that 11, 12 spot. Then it comes back to me in round three. And if DK Metcalf is there, okay, then I would take DK Metcalf. And then if Keenan Allen is there in round four in a PPR league, why not take Keenan Allen too? So your receivers would then be, in that scenario, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, and Keenan Allen. Whereas Keenan Allen is a PPR receiver, doesn't have a lot of touchdowns, but those other three guys do. That'd be an awesome first four picks from wide receiver. One of them goes in your flex, the other three go in your wideouts. Now, I know that really hurts your flexibility, but Aaron Jones is being taken in round 5. David Montgomery and Rachaad White are in that round 6 range. So you could then end up with Aaron Jones and David Montgomery, who I think is going to score a ton of touchdowns in Detroit. I think he's being disrespected a little bit, way too much. And this is coming from somebody who did not like David Montgomery the last couple of years in Chicago. I think he's going to score a ton of touchdowns this season. So you could have those 4 receivers in the first 4 rounds, Aaron Jones in round 5, David Montgomery in round 6, and then Darren Waller, who's going in round 7 as your tight end, and Deshaun Watson in round 8. So how about that lineup? That is very plausible if you look at the ADPs. Deshaun Watson is your quarterback. Then you have CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf as your wideouts, Keenan Allen as your flex, and Aaron Jones and David Montgomery as your 2 starting running backs. And then you could pick up an Antonio Gibson later on, for additional depth. You could, or Brian Robinson, just looking at some names here. Rashad Penny could be a depth piece. That would be quite affordable. So, I mean, listen, it's not the most conventional way to go about it, but it's not the worst idea either. And these are the things I'm thinking about. Listen, every one of those top running backs that are going in round 1 have a lot of not a lot, but they have red flags. Jonathan Taylor has a tremendous amount of red flags. He's going to have a running quarterback who's going to steal touchdowns around the goal line. He's going to have a quarterback who doesn't throw underneath. And again, this is one thing you have to remember. Running quarterbacks don't throw underneath. Look at J.K. Dobbins with Lamar Jackson. Look at the Eagles running backs with Jalen Hurts. They don't. Justin Fields doesn't throw underneath a lot. They would rather tuck it and run as opposed to throwing it underneath. So Jonathan Taylor with Anthony Richardson, not good. You definitely have to fade Jonathan Taylor 100%. Austin Eckler, lots of mileage on him the last 2 years. I mean, Jesus, Saquon Barkley is in a contract dispute. That if that goes into the preseason, that never ends well. The guys always wind up getting hurt when they miss preseason, when the regular season starts. Josh Jacobs, insane workload last season. He is absolutely going to bounce. And he's actually dropped into the 3rd round in some drafts because a lot of people think that's going to happen correctly, that he had such a big workload that he's probably going to bounce or get hurt this season. And look at the history of guys who have that kind of workload. It doesn't usually end well the next season. Christian McCaffrey, you think he's going to stay healthy a 2nd year in a row? I don't. He's getting up there in age. So all of these running backs who are going in that round 1, round 2 range, Derrick Henry, you want Derrick Henry at 29 years old? I don't. So there's a lot of concern for me. So again, you got to go receiver early. You just got to go receiver early. Now, in terms of who's my number 1 overall pick this year, Guadalupe Mendoza posted that to me. It's Justin Jefferson. In a PPR league, it's definitely Justin Jefferson. My top 5 in a PPR league is Justin Jefferson, Travis Kelce, Jamar Chase, for sure. Those guys, Christian McCaffrey, and then you got to put in Eckler or Tyreek Hill to make up the top 5, even though I'm not drafting any of those guys. In terms of McCaffrey and Eckler, I'm drafting the other 3 for sure. And for me, the Travis Kelce thing, if I don't get the top pick, I'm not getting Jefferson. If I'm not top 3, I'm not getting Chase. But if I'm in that 5-6 range, I absolutely am taking Travis Kelce. No doubt about it, because it's too early for Stephon Diggs. It's too early for CeeDee Lamb. It's too early for A.J. Brown. So I'm going to go Travis Kelce in the middle of round 1. And then coming back in round 2, I think Garrett Wilson will be there. And in round 3, you could take Chris Olave, who I really like as well. Although Olave's ADP, it actually is jumping up pretty quickly. Or DK Metcalf. I really like DK Metcalf in the 3rd round. I'm all in on DK Metcalf in the 3rd round. And like I said, if I get a lot of those touchdown-heavy receivers early, I'm not opposed to taking Keenan Allen in round 4. I'm absolutely not opposed to doing that. Or Calvin Ridley. I didn't even mention Calvin Ridley. If I can get Calvin Ridley in round 4 or 5, I'm doing that as well. So 100%. There's a lot of guys who at each position, and I talked about this in the last live stream that I did, who have the ability to outpace their current draft spot. Chris Olave is one of them at receiver. Garrett Wilson absolutely could graduate to a firm wide receiver one. He's another one. Rachaad White, David Montgomery at running back. Miles Sanders at running back, who I like a lot. Those guys definitely could outpace their current value. Antonio Gibson with Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator. At quarterback, we talked about Geno Smith. We talked about Deshaun Watson, all having the ability to exceed their value. So these are the guys you have to invest in that really could jump up. Chikosium Okonkwo, the tight end with Tennessee, he easily can outpace his value. Dalton Schultz, who's getting disrespected. Listen, rookie quarterbacks throw to their tight ends, and the cupboard is very bare in Houston. Dalton Schultz is being disrespected. Pat Freiermuth, same thing. Do you think Deshaun Watson have a bounce back season? Yes, Guadalupe. I don't know if you've been paying attention to any of the videos I've been putting out. I've been all about Deshaun Watson this entire summer. He was a top 5 guy with Houston, and I think he's still 27 years old. You throw out last season, coming back off of that long layoff, there's rust, no doubt about it. I think Deshaun Watson is going to be huge. And, I want to pair him with Geno Smith. I know they have the same bye week, which is a pain in the ass, but I love both of those guys at cost. Geno Smith now is quarterback 15. He was a top 6 passer last season in fantasy. I know he tailed off towards the end of the season, but now he's got the kid from Ohio State coming in to join Tyler Lockett, who's also criminally underrated, and DK Metcalf. It's going to be an unbelievable array of weapons for Geno Smith this season, no doubt about it. So, there's just a lot of guys who, and, David Montgomery, he's dropping so much further than he should. Rachaad White's going to catch a ton of passes, even though the quarterback situation is really bad there. The temptation, even though he doesn't catch passes, Rashad Penny with that Eagles offense. Cam Akers, a lot of people got burned by Cam Akers last season. Do you want to try that again? I love Miles Sanders. I think, and Aaron Jones. I know he's 28, but he averaged over 5 yards per carry again last season. He was at 5.3, 5.5 in 2020. He's a big play waiting to happen. Aaron Jones, still, he's going to catch 50-plus passes. It's going to be big value for Aaron Jones as a 5th-round pick. I know it's annoying. A.J. Dillon's still there, but listen, Aaron Jones is still legit. All right, Frank, just ordered your fantasy book from Amazon. Frank, thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. It sold very well. I've sold more copies of the draft guide this year than I've ever sold. And I've been doing this for, 15 years now. I used to have the website, thefantasysportsboss.com, where I churned out the book there as well. And Amazon picked it up. So it's been doing very well on Amazon. I appreciate that. And if you like it, leave me feedback on it. That would be great. I worked really hard on it, and I updated it through the NFL draft. And it's a book form, guys. So I don't want to mislead you. It's not a magazine. It's a book form, book, just the way Mel Kiper Jr. used to do the NFL draft. He had his own, his book that he used to do. That's what my draft guide is as well. So who do you like more in Houston backfield? Well, Dameon Pierce is going to be the guy. Devin Singletary is, he's done a decent job the last couple of years with Buffalo, but it's Dameon Pierce. I've cooled a little bit on him. He's a tackle breaking machine, no doubt. He's capable of catching the ball, catching more passes. He was a good receiver at Florida. But I hate the offense, breaking in a rookie quarterback. So I'm a little bit more guarded on him. When I originally started my running back, my guys, he was with, Breece Hall and Travis Etienne and Rachaad White, Aaron Jones, my running back guys. David Montgomery is now in that group this season because of the value he's giving you. Rhamondre Stevenson absolutely is my guy, but his ADP is really starting to creep up now. He's pushing into that mid-second round area code, which is getting to be a little bit too rich for me. I do love Jahmyr Gibbs as well. I love both of the Detroit guys. Travis Etienne now is becoming a little bit of a puzzle. So I talked about Christian Watson earlier today, about a polarizing guy that a lot of people are tweeting about in the fantasy football community. Travis Etienne is also that guy now. Very explosive running back. He missed his rookie season with the injury to his foot. 5.1 yards per carry last season. just more 10+ yard carries than almost any other back in fantasy football last season. 1,125 rushing yards. He was great, but the problem, there's a couple of issues with Etienne that I certainly might have overlooked early on. One is that Doug Peterson is a committee coach. He always had committees in Philadelphia, frustrating ones, like 3 deep committees. And, they brought in Bigsby, who is a hulking back. And I think there's a chance he's going to get goal line carries. And if that's the case, that's bad news for Travis Etienne. He's being drafted aggressively now too, early in the 3rd round. If Bigsby's going to get the goal line carries, and I'm thinking he might, that's really going to hurt Travis Etienne. And also, Trevor Lawrence is not exactly throwing the ball a lot underneath. And he's got Zay Jones to go with Calvin Ridley now, and Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram. There's no reason. This is a vertical passing offense. And while Etienne caught a bunch of passes in Clemson, Doug Peterson wants to get the ball down the field. So I'm afraid that Etienne is not going to catch as many passes as we might think. All right. So then if you combine that with not getting all the goal line carries, that might prevent running back 1 numbers in PPR league. It very well might. So I'm cooling a little bit on him. I'm still sky high on Ramondre Stevenson. He's number 1 in the my guys. Breece Hall, I'm a little leery about because of Dalvin Cook rumors. And that's the thing too. Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, they've got to sign already. We got to just find out where they're going so we can evaluate correctly the other backs that it's going to impact. So I like Rachaad White still. I like Aaron Jones a lot. So Breece Hall, if they bring in Dalvin Cook, I'm totally out on Breece Hall. As explosive as he is, let's face it, Saquon Barkley, his first year back from the torn ACL, he averaged under 4 yards per carry. Breece Hall may not have that explosion back. You've heard the trend of a running back not having his explosion back. They need an extra year to recover. That could be the case with Breece Hall. So I've cooled a little bit on him as well. Do you think Herbert ends up the running back 1 in Chicago? I'm not sure. I'm not going to say that. They brought in Foreman. They have Roscoe Johnson, who, listen, if you have a very late round pick, I would take a shot there. He was actually really good behind an all-world talent in Bijan Robinson while he was in college. He intrigues me a lot. Now, Herbert's done a decent job when he's gotten the opportunity. I don't know if he's in every, he's a 20 carry back. And Foreman probably going to get the goal line work. And Foreman was pretty good himself last season. So that's a mess there. And I'm not really chasing that backfield. There's a bunch of backfields in the NFL that I'm not chasing. That's one of them. So I have my concerns there. But there's just a lot of stuff to discuss going forward. And I'm going to be updating my running back rankings this week. I said I was going to discuss Arizona, the team previews. I'm going to leave the team previews for their own videos. I'm going to do the Arizona one tomorrow. Might update the running back rankings tomorrow. Also, guys, make sure you leave comments on the videos as well. You can ask me players that you want me to evaluate. We can do that. All that good stuff. And then, I can discuss, certain players that you might have questions on and things of that nature. So, but anyway, so, all right, guys, I think I'm going to end it here. 20-minute live stream. So I'm probably going to do another live one later on this week, Football Friday, most likely. So make sure you have the notification bell hit. And also obviously be a subscriber as well. Have some big things planned for the rest of the summer. I'm going to try to get some guests on. Working on having some guests on the show, as we get closer to the season. Maybe some Frank Amarante was somebody I was speaking to on Twitter that I'm going to try to get on here. So we'll see how that pans out. But, like I said, until then, just keep checking out the videos I post, and I'm going to start using the message board as well. And we'll go from there. So thanks for tuning in tonight, guys. I appreciate it. We will talk soon. Have a great night.